With that said, as soon as Thomas's mic, Thomas, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
All right, perfect. Let's go to Kelly Bardick to start us off.
Only right.
All right. Hey, Thomas, congratulations on an awesome career, my friend.
Thanks, Kelly.
I want to say two quick things. First, I want to start with the suit because it's much different than the one you wore after you were drafted. And then I want to know what you're going to miss the most.
So the suit, my inspiration was I wanted to put this uniform on one last time. So I figured out a way to come up with that. I sent a jersey in and sent a picture in of what I was looking for. And Alba Legacy, they made it happen for me. They are the suit company that has done my suits for years. And they just brought my vision to life.
It's awesome. What are you going to miss the most?
The camaraderie, really, just being around these guys, going into the off-season program when you get to meet all of the new guys that have been added to the team and just getting ready to start a new season, the new beginnings. I think that's going to be the one thing that I'm going to miss the most, not being able to come together with a group of guys with one common goal.
Thanks.
Let's go to Phil Orban for the next question.
Hey, Thomas. David touched on it briefly. Greg touched on it briefly. Football's a business and everybody can go their separate ways. David talked about how important it was for you to understand that you were family and he wanted to bring you back. You said how important it was for you to come back. Just what did this day mean to you in terms of kind of coming full circle with this franchise?
This was a special day for sure. This is something that I've always wanted to do. It looked much different than I expected it, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I envisioned that this day would come after I was done playing my last game as a Panther. But, this is a business and it don't always work out the way that we plan for it to work out. But I'm just happy that this day was able to happen and happen the way that it did.
Let's go to Joe Person.
Hey, Thomas, good to see you. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Gross said in his video, you probably heard him, that he tried to talk you into retiring after your third ACL. Remember about that story? And was there anyone else that did the same?
And there were so many people told me that I should retire from the game if I wanted to continue to have a healthy life from playing with my kids standpoint. They like to be able to run around and move around and play with my kids. I should have, really shut it down and stopped risking my knees. But, for me, I was 27 years old at the time and I knew that I still had a passion to play this game. And I wasn't going to let, the people who had my best interest in mind or thought they had my best interest in mind, or the naysayers who said that the team should cut me, I wasn't going to allow them to define who I was going to become as a player and what was going to happen. All I knew at that time was that I had an opportunity, and there were a ton of people calling me a bust and saying all of these different things. But that was all motivation for me to continue to go and do the things that I've been able to accomplish.
Hey, and a quick follow-up, your famous photo after the Super Bowl, people still talk about it. Do you still have the plate in your arm from that year?
Yeah, that plate is going to be with me for the rest of my life. That's not something that you can go in and take out. They attached it to the bone, so it's with me forever. I have that memory forever.
Let's go to Nick Carboni for the next question.
Thomas, congratulations. Deciding to retire is different for every player. It's a decision you weigh, physical, mental health with and what you have left. How did you personally arrive at that decision?
Physical and mental. Physical first, though. You get to a point in your career where your body starts to talk to you. And I never really understood when I heard older players say that. But when you wake up and this leg hurt, and then you wake up and both legs are hurting, and then your shoulder is hurting, and you just realize that you just can't go out and compete at the level that you were accustomed to competing. And you realize that it's time to walk away from the game, and to be able to do it on your own terms is the best way to go.
Let's go to David Newton.
Hey, Thomas, congratulations. Missed having you around the locker room and interviewing, things like that. But what struck me about today was it was more about who you and even Greg were as men, more as players. But what I want to ask you is what are the 2 or 3 favorite plays you're going to take from your career that really stand out when you're sitting back and thinking about it?
The first play that really comes to mind to me, and I've talked about this a few times, is the first play that I actually made when I came back from my 3rd ACL tear, and ironically I was a gunner on punt, and I went down and me and Captain had a little friendly bet on it on who was going to be the first guy to make that tackle on special teams for that season, and I was able to go down and do that after returning from 3 ACL. So that's one of the plays that stand out. Probably the interception against Green Bay here is something that I'll always remember. And the NFC Championship game, the blitz that I had when I hit David Johnston, I feel like that kind of set the tone for the rest of that game.
Well, and when you think about all the things that were said today, again, very little was about football. What does that say about your legacy?
I think that just speaks to the men. I think that speaks to our hearts and, what we've really kept important. And, that's giving back and taking care of the people that are around us and taking care of this community, trying to make it a better place because we're in it. And that's something I feel like me and Greg, we both accomplished at a very high level. And that's why you hear people speak so highly of it.
Thanks very much. Good luck in the future.
Appreciate it.
Let's go to Mike Solarte for the next question.
Thanks, Preston. Hey, Thomas, congratulations. Very heartfelt afternoon. David talked about the specific plays that you remember, but is there an enduring memory of standing on that field that just kind of sends chills down your spine when you think about it, and just something maybe the crowd said, something that happened on the field that you said, "Wow, this is amazing."
I think I would probably point back to, we had a playoff game here against Tampa, and the atmosphere and the electricity in that building, man, it was unmatched that night. D'Angelo and Stu were going crazy. That's went back in the smash and dash days, and man, all was right in the world that night.
Let's go to Scott Fowler.
Thomas, congratulations. It's great to see you. And that was a beautiful ceremony. Jonathan Stewart said in the videos, it's time to run for mayor.
Nah.
And I know that's what they called you sometimes in the locker room. So I wonder, sort of halfway seriously, do you have any political aspirations ever?
No, sir. No, sir, not at all. I can answer that quickly.
All right.
I'll let you finish though. Go ahead.
Well, no, okay, that was part of it. And so I wonder, what you see the second half of your life looking like, though. What do you plan to do?
Honestly, right now I'm just being patient. I'm gonna do some stuff with the Legends community. My board and my foundation, we're just gonna continue to do the work on a larger scale now that I have more time with the kids and the families that we work with in this community in Georgia and in South Carolina. That's the goal. And like I said, just being an owner of the Charlotte Thunder arena football team, I'm excited about that. The possibilities and the opportunities that are going to come from that. Just bringing arena football to this city is something that I'm extremely excited about.
And you're staying in Charlotte, right?
Forever.
Okay.
Let's go to Bridget Condon for the next question.
Hey, Thomas, congratulations on retiring. When you walked across that stage in 2005 and you got drafted, that's when the dream began. Did you expect it to go this way the next 16 years? And is there anything you feel like you wish you could have done before retiring?
I never imagined my career going this long. As a player, my goal coming into this league was to play for 10 years. If I could get to 10 years, I felt like, that was a solid career, and, I could walk away happy. But to be sitting in this seat right now, 16 years later, it's truly been a blessing. It's truly been an honor. The one thing, like most players who don't have it, I just regret not being able to win a Super Bowl ring. You know, that's the biggest regret that I have in my entire career. I feel like, you know, I've accomplished a lot of things individually. We accomplished a lot of things as a team, but that's the one thing that, you know, I feel extremely disappointed that we weren't able to bring to this city.
Let's go to Josh Klein.
Hey Thomas, congratulations. You answered Scott when he asked if you were staying in Charlotte. You said forever. What is it about your connection to the city of Charlotte? And if you could just expound a little bit on your connection to the Panthers fan base as you move forward.
You know, that's simple. You know, this city welcomed us with open arms in 2005 when we came in, and through all the good, through all the bad, through all the adversity that I've faced as a player, the fans have always been behind me. They've always supported each and everything that we've done within the community. My football camp alone has grown to 750 kids, and we started out with like 50 to 60 kids, and for it to grow that big, I think that really speaks to the support of this community and the support of the fan base. And I'm just excited to be able to be entrenched in this community and just live here forever, man.
Any chance you get out on the field for the Thunder?
On the field to do an announcement, that's it.
All right, guys, we can get one more before we get Greg in seats. Let's go to Joe Person for the final question for Thomas.
Oh, you can give it. I was going to ask him something funny about whether his investment in the Thunder was close to Tepper's in the Panthers.
No, not at all.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. We'll let Thomas get back to his family.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, T-Dave.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick.
All right, guys, got Greg Olsen here.
I got my beanie on. I'm taking my jacket off.
Let's start with Scott Fowler for the first question, followed by Steven Toronto.
Greg, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. And
Thank you.
I wonder if that day, now that it's, at least that part of it is over, if that was how you pictured it would go.
I think it went better than I could have expected. I knew it was going to be a special day. I knew the team was going to, do everything top notch. Their production group, their staff, the organization, they don't leave a stone unturned. They're so good at these events. And I knew it was going to be great. I think it probably even exceeded my expectations, which is saying a lot. Their attention to really making Thomas and I feel, so loved and respected, and it's hard to even put into words. It means so much to my family and I, as people who are going to live here now and raise our kids in this community and be a part of this community for a long time. To have things end the way they did now with Carolina means a great deal to us. And we're looking forward to continuing to be a part of this community going forward.
Thanks.
Greg, first off, congratulations on your career. You, Thomas, Luke, Cam, you guys really all set the standard for what Panthers football should be, what it looks like on the field, in the locker room, in the community throughout the 2010s. You had Coach Rule and a couple of the current players at your ceremony today. How do you see the values and the standard of Panther football that you guys set carried over to the team of today, and hopefully what it's going to look like in the future?
Yeah, I think those guys you brought up, a lot of those guys we touched on, and I have to address this now, and I'm glad you gave me this opportunity. I had an entire section in my speech that I prepared that was about my relationship and how much I feel about Cam. And I know you guys who covered knew how much he meant to me. And I had a whole thing written there, and in the midst of my emotions and getting going, I sat down next to my wife and I said, "Oh my God, I forgot Cam." And as I was going through guys that have impacted my career here, Ryan Khalil is a lifelong best friend, and Luke Kuechly is a lifelong best friend, and Thomas and JJ, and, Cam is at the top of that list. And it kind of haunted me since the second I sat down. I said, how did I miss the guy that I probably talked more about for 10 years? I probably talked more about that guy than anyone in my life. And I had a whole, and it just, in the midst of the emotions and coming down, I was kicking myself. But those guys you mentioned, I owe so much of my career to. The friendships that we built, the good times and the bad. You know, I to be able to, you know, I wish they all could have been here. We had rules about how many guys we could bring, and there was a lot of restrictions and whatnot. But you know, those guys know how much I love them, how much I care for them, how much they did for my career. You know, guys that I still touch base with, you know, on a regular basis. We'll forever be friends longer than our careers our careers together. You know, and those guys that you mentioned and, you know, are at the top of the list of people in my life. As far as carrying forward here, you know, I told Coach Rule in our last meeting before I got released, and now, you know, subsequently, even again today, you know, I don't know him real well, but as just a fan of the Carolinas and with kids that are going to grow up and be Panther fans, you know, I hope they find success. I hope they do well. I cheer for them. I root for them. I'm pulling for them. And that's the same thing I told him before I left, you know, and I hope, you know, I hope that's the case. And I know everyone in this community feels that way.
All right, let's go to David Newton for the next question.
Hey, Greg, appreciate your time. That was a great ceremony today, and a lot of heartfelt things were said. And what struck me, and I was the same thing I did Thomas, what struck me was it was more about who you guys were as men, not football players. But as a football player, when you look back, what are the 2 or 3 plays that you made that are really going to stand out?
In my time here, you know, I think at the top of the list, you know, the play I hear the most about from the fans and people in the organization and outside the organization was the catch at the end against Seattle. I think, you know, that more than just the catch. I said this on a radio show the other day when they brought it up. It wasn't my best route. It wasn't the most creative route. It wasn't the fastest I ever ran. It wasn't the hardest ball I ever caught. I just think it was just symbolic of kind of getting over the hump. You know, for years we kept, you know, chopping the wood and we kept beating the door down. And finally we got past that hump. You know, we got over what was the marquee team, you know, in the league, you know, especially in the NFC, and to go on the road and beat them the way we did, coming back from 2 scores down in the fourth quarter. I think that play was just symbolic of that year, symbolic of that kind of climb through the, you know, when we got here together in 11, that climb, that was when we realized, you know, we're on to something here. So, you know, that one stands out. You know, I don't know. I was fortunate to catch a lot of balls and win a lot of games and all that, but it really was the memories, you know, I talked about in my speech, sharing that moment, pounding the drum with my son and sneaking out of the locker room to watch my daughter, you know, do the top cats at halftime, you know, running out of the tunnel and seeing my kids and my wife standing on the sideline and be able to give them a quick moment, you know, a hug. And before I went to pregame, you know, those are the things that I'll always remember. You know, that the guys, the relationships, you know, the good times, the bad ones, we had our fair share of both. So those are the things that as I've gotten further away from it now, and, you know, those are the things you hold on to.
I want to ask you too, you mentioned Cam. David Tepper was at the podium and said, don't worry, we're going to bring the other one back someday too. He was talking about Cam. So what do you think that would mean for Cam to one day be in a position like you are, and you think Cam wants to?
Well, he deserves it. You know, like I said before, you know, the midst of emotions and trying to cover a lot of bases, you know, he's a guy that, you know, you guys all know from covering this, you know, covering us here for all these years, you know, if there's a list of people who love Cam and care for him and appreciate him, you know, I'm at the top of it. You know, what I've said before, he's the best thing that ever happened to my career. You know, I don't know if I have the career I had if I didn't have those 9 years together with him. He made me a better player. We enjoyed each other as people. We were very different people. And I think that's what made it so special, what made our connection so unique. The city of Charlotte, the Carolina Panther organizations, when Cam's day is done, I don't know when that'll be, how many years from now, whatever, that'll play its course. But when that day has come, if anybody has earned the right to have a day like today to recognize all he gave to this organization and putting this organization on the map nationally, it's him, it's Luke Kuechly. You know, it's guys, you know, that transcended just being good football players. I mean, those guys are generational players. And, you know, the fact that we overlapped our careers for so long, I got to enjoy today with Luke. He was here. You know, Cam wasn't able to come, but he's a guy that has earned the right to get his send off whenever that time comes. And I know, you know, there's 100 other guys that played with him that feel the way I do about him. And I hope that day we can all be there and give him the send off that he deserves.
Thanks very much. Good luck.
All right, let's go to Phil Orban, followed by Elena Getzenberg.
Hey, Greg, you joked about how when you came here, you didn't know which Carolina Charlotte was in. And you become so ingrained in this community. I'm wondering, when did you kind of realize that this was going to be home, and how have you embraced this community in kind of that formative decade of your life?
Yeah, everything changed. You know, that first off season, the spring of 2012, we were having the twins, got that diagnosis during OTAs, kind of lived that whirlwind for a few months leading up to, you know, them being born the next fall season. You know, that period there from spring through the fall, and just, you know, I touched on it in my speech, the way the community and the city wrapped their arms around us and supported us, a guy that they really didn't know well. I wasn't drafted here. I wasn't a lifer. I wasn't a guy like Thomas and them who played their whole careers. Ryan, you know, I was a new kid. I was from a different organization, came here for one season, and, you know, they treated me like I've spent my whole career here. And I think we realized pretty quickly going through that process that we had a really special place here. The hospital, the relationships that we have there will last a lifetime. So this community is everything that we were looking for. There was no doubt in our minds when we got back from Seattle that we were going to put our roots here, continue to raise our family, raise our kids here. And, you know, I think this was a big step in solidifying, you know, our family's roots being here in the Carolinas.
Hey, Greg, congratulations. I was curious, you know, you kind of alluded to this in your speech, but when things ended the way they did last year, did you think this moment would come still? And did it take time over the course of the past year for you to want this to happen? Or how did that kind of work for you?
Yeah, it wasn't a matter of me not wanting it. You know, of course, after you spend a long time somewhere and they decide that they're better off moving on without you, any guy who's played that has any ounce of pride or, you know, whatnot, you know, feels initially like, yeah, you're hurt, right? Why would they not want you? Why do they feel like they're better off not having you? But then, you know, that quickly you realize it's coming. That day is going to come for everybody. It's not personal. It doesn't mean they don't like you. It doesn't mean they don't appreciate you. It's just, it's time to go in a different direction. And, you know, went out and played in Seattle for a year and enjoyed our time and made the most of a tough situation. And then, you know, the second Dave called me and kind of mentioned that they were putting this together, I didn't even really consider another alternative. You know, it was something that I really thought was the right thing. I was appreciative and I was humbled that they wanted to recognize me along with Thomas and do something like today. And here we are. It came together real fast. You know, they called me maybe a month ago, you know, maybe 3-4 weeks, whatever it was. And, but yeah, I didn't even hesitate. It was the right thing to do. It was something that I knew at the end was the right way to kind of put a bow on my career. And here we are.
All right, guys, we got time for one more. So let's go to Joe Person before we let Greg go.
Greg, good to see you. Congrats. That was cool.
How's that Dilworth baseball going?
Brother, we're rocking.
I know JJ's, by the way, been stressing about his draft tonight. He said the commissioner's a pain in the ass.
Well, don't take them into travel ball. We are little league purists. Two things. Kidding. I'm assuming you and Kara are staying in Charlotte.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep,
good.
We're here.
And then secondly, can you take us through the discussions with Ron in Washington last year and how close that came to happening?
It was close. I mean, the three teams that it came down to were, of course, Seattle, Ron and company, you know, all my guys, Pete, my tight end coach, RV, the trainer, you know, everybody's there in Washington. And then, of course, McDermott and crew up in Buffalo. You know, there's so many guys on that staff that I have great relationships with. You know, the tight end coach that drafted me in Chicago is his tight end coach there. Dorsey, you know, I played some of the best years of my career. Dorsey was our quarterback coach and really was instrumental in growing the tight end role and developing Cam and I's, you know, kind of unique connection and what we were able to kind of, you know, develop there. Eric Washington, and I can go down the line. I mean, guys from my Chicago days, guys from Panthers, just guys I've known around the league. There was a lot of strong connections there. And, I have all the respect in the world for McDermott. I think he's incredible. Bean, all of them. So it was, that was a hard decision, between those three. And, I ended up going to a place where I didn't really have any connections. I didn't really have anybody there that I knew real well. But it was an adventure that I wanted to take. It was a challenge that I was excited about. When I signed there, of course, the world wasn't turned upside down at the moment. Maybe that would have changed the decision, but I don't regret any of it. I learned a lot. It's a special place out there. They do a lot of really cool things in Seattle. The way they run their organization, the way, from the top down, they do a lot of really cool things. It wasn't the personal season that I had hoped for. Things were a little different than what I was used to, and all that being said, but I don't second guess that decision. I thought it was the best decision for me to kind of grow as a player and as a person, but it was hard calling Ron and McDermott and Bean. Those guys are guys I really care about. And it was hard to call them and say, I'm going somewhere else. It haunted me for days. It's a decision I didn't love having to make, but I made a decision that I thought was in my best interest. And, those are guys that I root for and cheer for and care about as people. Bean was the first person who ever called me when I got traded here. And I remind him of that every time we talk to him. I'm like, Bean, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even known I got traded to Carolina because no one else called me, and now he's, the big man up there calling all the shots. So I have a lot of respect for all those guys, and I wish them nothing but the best.
All right, guys, gonna let Greg get back to his family. We appreciate everyone.
See you guys.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.